Hi, I'm Sammy Murrian and I write about film and television for Parade Magazine. Beach Rats is written and directed by Eliza Hittman, and this stars Harris Dickinson, Kate Hodge, and Madeline Weinstein. Harris Dickinson plays Frankie, a 19-year-old kid in Brooklyn who is pretty aimless. He doesn't have a job, he doesn't go to school, and he spends most of his days hanging out with his beach rat buddies, pumping iron, prowling the boardwalk, and he lives at home with his mom and his dad, who is in hospice care and is dying of cancer. Also, Frankie is gay, and he is struggling with that in something between confusion and utter denial. Frankie compartmentalizes his life, as a lot of scared and confused young people do. By day, he is just like a bro with his buddies. He goes out on some really awkward dates with a young woman named Simone, who is played by Madeline Weinstein. She has a crush on him and is fairly forward, and he just kind of goes with it. Frankie also tries to be there for his thoroughly emotionally drained family. By night, Frankie peruses gay hookup sites and chats with older guys, as you do when you're in the closet at this age. Why do you go for older guys? Because older guys are unlikely to know the same people that you know. This is how it happens when you are young and in the closet. Pretty soon he moves on from chatting to hooking up, and he's hooking up with these guys, and the hookups are everything from exciting to embarrassing to just incredibly dangerous and scary. Also, Frankie is a drug addict. He pilfers painkillers from his father's medicine cabinet, and he smokes all the weed that he can get his hands on. Unfortunately, he is totally broke and doesn't have a job, so it's kind of hard to buy drugs when you're broke. Frankie is living in denial, he is living in lies, and of course it is just a matter of time before everything comes crashing down on him. As I have been saying a lot on my channel, and I'm sure it's getting annoying now, I am so busy right now. Just, my schedule is stacked and I don't have a lot of time. I really wanted to get this review of Beach Rats out there. A big reason for that is because I'm posting my top 10 of the year so far on my channel. I just posted part 1. Check it out if you haven't already. And my next video after this is going to be part 2. I wanted to review this movie first because this movie is going to be in part 2. This is one of my top 5 films of 2017 so far. I absolutely love this movie. I saw this movie almost exactly 1 month ago, and I have not been able to get this thing out of my head. First off, let's praise Eliza Hittman, the writer-director. She won a Best Director prize at the Sundance Film Festival earlier this year for Beach Rats, and that award was thoroughly well deserved. This is only Eliza Hittman's second film. Her first one was called It Felt Like Love, which was also well received. And I would say that just with 2 movies under her belt, Eliza Hittman has established a really unique style as a director, which is something that you just don't see that much this early on in a director's career. This movie is very observational and humane. This movie is filled with close-ups. Eliza Hittman studies faces as if they were mountain ranges. One of many reasons that I think you should try to see this movie in a theater. This movie was shot on 16mm film. The cinematography is by a French woman by, I believe you say her name, Hélène Louvart. I believe that's her name. I hope that's her name. And this movie is gorgeous to look at. Because it's shot on 16mm, it's grainy. There's also a great deal of neon. In some ways, the aesthetic of this film is reminiscent of Moonlight, another movie which had just a lot of neon, was very pretty to look at. Different though. This movie is much darker. This movie is underlit, and the image is frequently just, it's dark. And I love that about this movie. This just kind of reflects the very dark and painful state of mind that Frankie is in. A lot of the nighttime scenes in this film, including some of like the nighttime hookup scenes, are filmed with very harsh, bright lighting. And at first I was like, wait, what? But I love that about this film because it's not quite as harsh as like the Blair Witch Project, but it's kind of close. And it feels like we are invading these people's personal space. And it is very personal space that we see in this movie. This movie is filled with sex scenes and with nudity and it is never for a moment titillating or arousing. Eliza Hittman finds things and discovers things in these scenes. Many of them are just uncomfortable and play out to very uncomfortable lengths. And you can develop character in sex scenes, in scenes of physical intimacy, and that's exactly what Eliza Hittman does here. The direction here is fabulous, and Eliza Hittman's writing is so good that you don't even really notice it. The dialogue in this movie just feels completely authentic and spontaneous. The cast and the casting of this film is fantastic. The little beach rat friends of Frankie have very little dialogue, but they have these great faces, and they have really terrific presence. Kate Hodge is wonderful as Frankie's mother. It's kind of a harrowing role. She's watching her son just destroy himself and hurt himself, and she's not really sure why. And she's also just completely drained because her husband is dying. And she loves her son. Madeline Weinstein is wonderful here too as Frankie's girlfriend. In a lesser movie, this type of role, she might have come off as just like a nag or a burden or an obstacle. But she's just a good girl who has a crush on this guy, and she's being lied to all the time. And now we have to talk about Harris Dickinson. 2017 has been chock full of these incredible breakout performances. And even, among those, Harris Dickinson really stands out. This is absolutely amazing. I saw this movie at Outfest, a film festival here in Los Angeles, and after the movie, Eliza Hittman did a Q&A, and she revealed to the audience that Harris Dickinson is, in fact, English. When she said that, the audience, you could hear like a just a gasp in the theater. It was shocking. This guy is so utterly convincing as a little hood rat from Brooklyn. You would have thought that she had just plucked him off the street a few minutes before cameras started rolling. He's also just an incredibly magnetic screen presence, and this role it's emotionally wrenching. There is this visual motif in Beach Rats that Eliza Hittman keeps bringing back of Frankie taking these like shirtless mirror selfies, and he's screwing around with his appearance. He's putting a cap on, he's just altering his appearance and looking at himself and trying to change things about himself and just not really actually seeing himself. And I found this motif to just be completely haunting. This kid is in absolute utter denial about who he is, what he is. Another thing that I will say about seeing this movie at Outfest is I saw this film in a theater full of gay men. Harris Dickinson is absolutely beautiful to look at. He's like a 36 out of 10. He is incredibly handsome, gorgeous, fresh-faced. And you could feel it in the audience full of gay men. It was palpable. He's really pretty, and I feel like that makes the film even stronger. I feel like Frankie just has no idea how attractive he is. Halfway through this movie, he gets a really dorky haircut, and he goes from like a 36 to like a 32. He just doesn't know himself. He doesn't see himself at all. He's just in total denial, and I have been there. He's just lying to himself about who he is, and hurting himself a great deal and also hurting the people around him. Some of the scenes between him and his girlfriend are just absolutely excruciating to watch. And then the last act of this movie is just really, I found it fairly disturbing. I don't want to really reveal any plot spoilers or anything, but towards the end of this movie, inevitably, Frankie's worlds kind of collide. It's this long, really well edited sequence that starts out really distressing and then just becomes horrifying. This movie disturbed me. I found Beach Rats to be a disturbing watch. I absolutely loved this movie. It drives me up a wall when people label certain movies as LGBT movies or gay movies because they're about a character who is gay. Don't do that. Don't call this an LGBT movie. Don't call this a gay movie. Don't. This movie is written and directed by a heterosexual woman. And I'm not exaggerating here. I can think, rarely if ever have I seen a movie that made me feel so seen and understood as a young gay man. You know, I've heard some gay people like argue in favor of separating movies and calling them LGBT movies, and like the reasoning being that we're still fighting for representation. We need representation. I hate that. To me, calling something a gay movie or an LGBT movie, it's just like, okay, you go here in your little ghetto and have your movie. You can have your movies over here, and then everything else is for everybody else. It's just really pointless. It's just really counterproductive. It's just gross. This is just a movie about a human being who is struggling with who he is, and that is something that is totally universal. So yeah, in case you can't tell, I absolutely loved this film. I give Beach Rats a 9.2 out of 10. See it! I've just finished a written review of Beach Rats for Parade magazine. It's going to be on Parade's website. That's not up yet, but as soon as it is, I'm going to put it in the comments down below. Please check that out as well. And please stay tuned to my channel, because my next video coming up is part 2 of my top 5 of 2017 so far, and Beach Rats will be a part of it. Thank you so much, as always, for tuning into my channel. I appreciate your support so very much. Please follow my writing on Parade. It is parade.com/member/Samuel Murrian. If you like this video, please subscribe to my channel. Take care of yourselves, and be well, everybody. Bye!